Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to Game 2 of this best of 3. It is from the Zotac Cup. It is between the blue Zerg player in the top right position, Ace's Nerchio, and in the lower left as the red Protoss. We do of course have Rock's Fraer. Now, Game 1, we did indeed see Nerchio win quite convincingly, I would say. Fraer went for a it was a Nexus first, into some 5-gate pressure, then he tried to tech up and do a little bit of Warp Prism harassment, but Nerchio, he dealt with that expertly, and then went in for some Mute harass and just decimated probe counts, and then cleaned up pretty nicely, and in the end, Fraer, after his Warp Prism harassment, didn't deal enough damage to Nerchio's own income. He just GG'd out, and I think that was quite right. It could have gone on a bit longer. Fraer could have held out for a while, but Nerchio just kept the Stalker count really low. He kept the probe count really low with his muters, and as a result, there was just no way that Fraer was going to win that game. So going into Game 2, we're on Cloud Kingdom, and this is of course the 2012 map of the year, so it is a fantastic map. It's my second favourite map next to Daybreak, and again, I'm thinking Fraer very well may go for a Nexus first. He could do if he's feeling brave. He may just be a Forge first this time, but Nerchio not likely to put on much early pressure. So I think, knowing Nerchio, you're a lot better off just going for the Nexus first, unless you have a specific reason you want to get that Forge down early. And the only real purpose of that would be if you wanted to try and get some cannons into the third, but it's not so easy to do that anymore. There was an older version of this map where you could get, obviously, cannons behind the mineral line, but that got removed, so nowadays, it's just a big map, it's quite open. The third base for Nerchio is going to be the focal point of this map, I almost guarantee. Immortal Sentry all-in is a huge possibility, because this is, in my opinion, probably the hardest third base for Zerg to hold against Protoss in the map pool at the moment, just due to these two really wide ramp areas. So wouldn't be surprised at all to see an Immortal Sentry all in to try and knock this out, because generally speaking, if this third base goes down for Zerg, you're not going to see them win the game. There has to be some very specific circumstances where you can come back from that. Namely, you have to completely decimate the force that was killing you, and have so much units and army left over that you can just go and win. Otherwise, your economy is just so far behind, it's really difficult. Now, Fraer has yet again gone for the pylon block. This time, I really hope he doesn't get supply block, because as we saw in game 1, he lost this pylon and then proceeded to be supply blocked for what seemed like an entire eternity. But yet again, it's forced the 4 Zerglings from Nerchio, which means it will delay his third base by a couple of seconds, so more likely to be hitting about the 420 mark. And actually, now we can see that these Zerglings being pulled off are not going to finish off this pylon, which is probably going to be quite confusing for Fraer, who sees now 2 additional Zerglings on their way. So that does go up to 8, which means a counterattack coming in. This cannon, though, should be done in time. It'll be pretty close, but I'm fairly certain that'll be finished up. You need to bring some probes just to make sure you block it off, and ooh, it's actually going to be pretty close. The 3 Zerglings will get in, which is of course 3 more than you want. It's not a huge problem, 3. If it was all 6 or maybe 8 of them, then I'd be panicking quite a lot, but because there's only 3 Zerglings in there, it's not a massive deal. Coming down to the natural, and well, the probe's going to pull towards the cannon, it'll be fine. Meanwhile, if Nerchio tries to come and harass into the main base, well, with some good probe micro, you should be absolutely fine with it. So it's just taking up quite a lot of Fraer's attention. May lose some mining time while he tries to deal with them, and it's frustrating, but it's not the end of the world. If Nerchio gets a probe or 2, he will be laughing, but generally, you're not going to see a probe go down right now. We've got a bit of a mess up on the gas mining times, which of course is really annoying, but Fraer does have enough gas in there already to start his warp gate tech, so that's not a massive problem. He's going to just not be able to get the sentry out immediately after. So all in all, these Zerglings still being frustrating. The first Zealot nearly finished up. Once that comes in, it's going to be so much easier to deal with these Zerglings. Quickly flicking off there, the natural and third base on their way out for Nerchio nearly finished up, so that's great. No gas yet, as to be expected. The Zealot is now in play. Obviously, 1 Zealot against 3 Zerglings. The Zealot is always going to win that fight, no matter how good your micro is as a Zerg player. And it really will put an end to what these Zerglings are going to be able to do. They may try and grab a probe, and oh, are they going to get one? They do! That is, well, 2 probes have gone down, of course, 1 scouting probe and that one there for Fraer. So Nerchio actually doing well, getting a probe kill out of just 3 Zerglings in the main base. But here's the Cyber Core finished up. We do have enough gas to start Warp Gate Tech straight away. There's also 200 gas banked up, so I'm thinking we may see a Robo. There we go, the Robo coming straight out, and very quickly after, it's going to be a Stalker as opposed to a Sentry, so that's all fine. Meanwhile, for Nerchio, he's got his first 2 gas up. Very normal timing of those 2 gas. Anything around the kind of 40 to 50 supply is a great time to get down those gas. We've got 100 gas banked up, so we should see Lair first, or no, actually it's going to be speed first, which is a bit more unusual. Usually you tend to see a player go for the Lair first in order to get roach speed out slightly sooner. All the Zerglings have now been cleaned up inside the base, so finally Fraer can rest easy. He's getting out his sentry now. The robotics facility with the sentries, with the +1, is always going to be screaming Immortal Sentry all in, which of course is strong on this map anyway. There comes down the Lair with the next 100 gas, so Nerchio there being like, lag when you're losing, convenient, which is just a bit of banter between these two. Nerchio's had some amazing banter in this tournament, I've got to say. Some might call it BM. I think it is just friendly banter. Personally, it's not just like completely raging. It's just a bit of fun. Of course, if this was a Kesper tournament, though, they'd be both. Nerchio would be out of there in a second. So yeah, as we've got more gas coming down now, going up to the 4 gas, we need to see the Rotron really soon. There we go. So Nerchio is getting that Rotron down at 8 minutes, like 15. That is exceptionally late. And the only reason we see it quite late in this situation is because Fraer was delayed a bit in his gas count just due to the harassment from those 3 Zerglings. Not by a huge amount, but just a little bit, so maybe Nerchio feeling a little bit more confident. He's getting a lot of Zerglings out as well. Speed is about to finish up, so that means everything here is dead. Both of the Stalker and Zealot will die. The Zealot looks like it's actually going to get a couple of kills on those Zerglings though, but now the Stalker will inevitably go down. The Zerglings trying to come around and trap it, but yep, dead Stalker. That is great news, and a lot of additional gateways coming down here for Fraer now. He's getting up 6 more. That'll take him to 7 gate. With that Immortal count coming up with the Warp Prism, this is such a massive all-in, and Nerchio doing the right thing. If you stop this push early on in the open ground where you're able to get a nice surround, so many force fields are used that you're just not going to be able to continue that push without a lot of trouble. 16 roaches coming out, roach speed on its way out. The second Nerchio sees this, he's going to be absolutely fine. He sees there's no third base at near the 10-minute mark, which straight away is an indicator. All he needs is to see this come out, and then at which point you know what's going to be going down. The Warp Prism picks up accidentally 1 Immortal, but here's the Watchtower. He's going to see the Immortals, going to see the Sentries, doesn't see the Warp Prism yet, but in come the Zerglings, and they do nearly manage to get us around. None of them actually get caught by those force fields, so straight away 3 force fields caught. This is delaying the push in itself, and it's giving Nerchio more time to get out units, and look at these roaches are going to come in from behind. Oh my goodness, this could be absolutely devastating if Nerchio is able to get a nice little surround on this, but Fraer's forces coming through. He's sending the Zerglings in again. It looks like these roaches are just actually going to be used for a counter-attack flat out, and as a result, base trading seems to be on the cards for Nerchio, and he will win this base trade. Straight away trying to come in, but with the pylon there, the roach is trying to get in, and it seems like Fraer deciding to pull back. He's going to do some Warp Prism harassment, knowing that all of Nerchio's forces are back here. Well, the Forge goes down, the gateway is unpowered, we do have the sentries getting taken out, but here comes back all of Fraer's forces, so a relatively nice defense now out of Fraer coming back. He's getting some great force fields, and Nerchio maybe ran in a little bit too early. He's reinforcing with more units. He's getting up some Spine Crawlers ready to try and deal with this Warp Prism as best he can, but most of this force has been taken out now. No significant losses taken yet out of Fraer. He's only lost 3 probes. He does have some roaches coming up into the main, but a great little warping of Zealots there. Meanwhile, the probes in the natural are getting pulled. The Immortals will be able to clean this up very comfortably, and with that, Fraer has done an absolute miracle defense, without a doubt. He's coming in now. He's still fairly happy. There's some Zerglings streaming through. That's going to be a bit of a pain. We see a few more probes getting taken out now, but all in all, with this Warp Prism here, a counterattack is going to be fairly big. Potentially, the worker count is very low for Nerchio at this stage of the game. He's committed so much to this aggression, and when all you've killed is a Forge and 1 Gateway, well, your opponent's got a lot more of those, and the Robo stayed up. The Immortal count's got higher, the Sentry count's getting higher. Remaking the Forge now. The only big problem is the lack of the wall off, and obviously the risk of this Warp Prism, which is instead just going to go straight up into the main base with very little there. All the Spine Crawlers moved, ready to defend from a counterattack, all down to the natural and third, but the Warp Prism is going to come in, and well, this is major problems for Nerchio. Another warp in on its way. So many Zealots coming in. All of Nerchio's army is so far out of position. He's going to try and resupply as quickly as he can, but the Lair getting focused, the Queen about to go down, and with that, this Lair could very well fall. I don't think there's going to be enough units coming out. We do have Nerchio trying to pull back those roaches, but the Lair almost certain to go down now. The Warp Prism hightails it out of there, and yeah, 1 dead Lair coming up. That is 1 mining base down for Nerchio. It also knocks his tech back. We now have, obviously, everything down here getting cleaned up that was still remaining. The Zealots should die, but the only thing that did luckily survive was, of course, the Infestation Pit. So Infestors are still going to be able to come out. The Warp Prism should get shut down now with the Chain Bungling, but lots of energy used there. And as a result of the lair being gone, that delays all the hive timings. And when you think we're at 14 minutes, you're going to start wanting to transition to hive. We've got the Dark Shrine on its way out now for Fraer as well, so he's going to be able to go for some more aggression. This poor Immortal trapped in by the complete wall off. Some more pylons coming down, another War Prism on its way as well. So clearly Fraer really wanting to utilise this War Prism drop a lot more effectively throughout, because it's already been so strong, why not do more? And Nerchio, you've got to remember, is committed so much to these spine crawlers. Oh, so many of them, and as a result we could have some possible problems. Fraer though being like impossible to play right now with the lag apparently, so that is a bit unfortunate. Meanwhile the third base getting secured by him, and yeah, to be honest, Fraer is really quite comfortable. He's done great amounts of damage. He's knocked down the probe count to pretty much the same as his drone count of Nerchio. He's knocked down the base count, so he's on equal bases with Nerchio now. And specifically these two gas arm mining, the additional 2 gas of the third only just come up. That's going to really starve Nerchio in terms of his gas. He's trying to get the lair up as well, but huge delays coming all round. We've got the first Colossus on the field. The DT Shrine was cancelled, so that straight away is not going to be happening now, and as a result, Nerchio has just got to worry about late game composition, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Fraer try and move out with some kind of Colossus timing, because he's so safe from Broodlords. He doesn't even have to worry about Corruptors, because the lair only just about to finish up. That means at least another 100 seconds until a Spire can be constructed, and as a result, it's Roach, Ling and Fester against a very high count of, well, 3 Immortals, a good count of, well, no, 5 Immortals, sorry, there's more there, there's only more hiding around the map, no. The Colossus now out as well. Once the second Colossus hits, and once Extended Thermal Lance is finished, this force for Nerchio is in major amounts of problems. Nerchio taking his 4th base as well, so the double expand is good, getting the macro hatch up now as well. There goes the Spire, so he's trying to tech as quickly as he can up towards Broodlords. When we think we're at the 16-minute mark already, this is potentially problematic for Nerchio. He's just hitting back towards the 70 drone count that you want in the later game. He needs to get the hive started fairly soon though, but unfortunately his income just hasn't been high enough up until now in order to support that. More warpings coming down, another drop is inevitably going to hit at the natural. Nerchio's army, where is it? Where is that all gone? It's all very far out of position, and it hasn't been spotted coming back, but there's a great fungal growth from that Infester, forcing the Warp Prism back, so Nerchio's reaction time's absolutely brilliant there. Will be able to hold off any more harassment from a Warp Prism for the moment, but this 4th base is yet to do very much. Extended Thermal Lance is now finished up. The 3rd Colossus is about a quarter done. The Gravatic Drive coming down as well now, +3. Upgrade for Protoss ground weapons is nearly finished. That's compared to the upgrades for Nerchio, which are 0-0 for the time being. 1-1 missile and melee attack on its way. And as we can see here, Fraer is just starting to steamroll forward. Once that, even with just the 2 Colossus, he is doing an amazing job. So once the 3rd Colossi comes in, you've got big problems as a Zerg player without any Corruptors, without any Broodlords. This is 18 minutes now. 10 Corruptors are in production, but all Nerchio really has to worry about is losing this 3rd base. If any of his base, he can just about, and I mean just about, afford to lose this 4th and still be in the game, just due to having those Corruptors on the way. But if he loses the 3rd base, or takes significant damage at least, he is going to be in absolutely serious trouble, because as we can see, the Corruptors now out. If he gets a good attack angle on these Colossi, he will be okay, because he'll knock them out relatively quickly with 7 Corruptors. But all in all, you have to worry now. You have to be very, very worried for Fraer. He's in a bad position just due to the Corruptors coming. He's got to have a good engagement. He's going to lose one of those Colossi very quickly. His army engaged somewhat at a sideways angle. Some good fungal growth out of Nerchio. And there we see Nerchio able to do some very nice damage. And he's going to clear this out very fast indeed. And with that, all the Colossi down. The Immortals are just too high in number though. And as a result, Nerchio is going to be forced back. While the Colossi were taken out so fast, if you don't have a good supporting ground army, you end up in a situation like this where, yes, most of the Protoss' really big threat problems are gone. The ground army is still maintained. The Roaches are coming through, but 4 Immortals are going to be very, very strong against this. Without a 4th base, when Fraer has nearly secured his own 4th, or will get it down slightly sooner, you're running into even more problems as a Zerg. And Fraer obviously just needs to be careful not to lose too many more Colossi. Those Corruptors badly controlled though, unfortunately, flying straight into the Stalkers. Luckily for Nerchio, none of them get taken down. Meanwhile, Fraer, he's building back up the Colossus count. He's getting out his Templar Archives as well. So with that, he's going to get high Templar Archons, and as a result, he can start popping Infestors with feedback, and can also start looking to get the Archons out to deal with the air threat. The Hive is only halfway done. So at 21 minutes, this Hive is so incredibly late. Nerchio clearly felt quite confident he could have taken the game there. But that means it's going to be at least now probably another 130 seconds about, call it 2 minutes at least, until a Greater Spire will be out. And as a result, Fraer has got a huge amount of time where he is actually very, very safe. Some Zealots coming and doing some harassment in the main base, picking off some drones. We can see Fraer having killed an absolutely extraordinary number of drones this game, 33 already. With that, he is, of course, going to be knocking back Nerchio's work count down to 52 now, compared to the 74 probes for Fraer. With the 4th base up now for Fraer as well, he is very comfortably ahead in terms of the economy. We can see here his gas income way higher, his mineral income way higher as well. With the Archons out, the Corruptors are no longer quite so scary, and Fraer no longer quite so reliant on the Colossus. But with a good count of Rotors, a good Infestor play, it's not all over for Nerchio yet. He's got his Greater Spire coming out. This is really critical now. If Nerchio can hold on until he gets some Broodlords, he's going to be in such a better spot. But Fraer, he does have a nice little window where if he chose to put on some aggression, he'll be fine. The War Prism taken down there. The 4th base getting mass spined, trying to make sure it's going to be safe. A couple more spines just dancing around up here, not wanting to burrow quite yet, apparently. The 2-2 upgrades, both melee and missile coming down for Nerchio. Meanwhile, 3-1 already complete. The +1 Protoss shields finishing now as well. So very big upgrade advantage for Fraer, who is now just steamrolling his way forward, picking off a lot of creep tumors very quickly. Queen gets knocked out there, so no more creep spread coming out from her. And with this, you've got to really start panicking, because we can see these spine crawlers are in a good position. Nerchio trying to hug up around there, lobbing down some infested Terrans, but all these infested Terrans are wasting energy for those infestors. And Fraer can just really just get Nerchio on the run around, and you can get him having to pull back, trying to defend everywhere at once. These rocks, of course, creating quite a nice choke point, which Nerchio may try and utilise. Some force fields coming down absolutely expertly, though. And, of course, the Archons engaging on the Corruptors. None of the Colossus have actually fallen yet. One does go down now, but the rest of those Corruptors go down. 2 Colossus have died. Really, Fraer could do with keeping those up, and a reinforcing Colossus comes in just in the nick of time to really help this. The Corruptor count, though, down to only 3. The Greater Spire is, of course, finished, but look at this. Fraer, he's pushing and expanding behind. It is absolutely perfect play. Fraer is still trying to push, though, and still trying to put on the aggression. He needs to be careful with this force. The Corruptor count is pretty low, so Nerchio should be relatively scared of those 2 Colossi for the time being. He needs to get out more Corruptors. With only 3 there, he's in some problems, but all of his gas going on Infestors for the time being. With those Infestors, they're great as a supporting unit, but as the bulk of your army, you need something to support them with. Without the Broodlords there, this sort of force is going to become very powerful very quickly. Infested Terrans are on the way down, but look at this damage being done by the Stalkers. The Corruptors do need to get focused, though, because otherwise the Colossus is going to fall. We can see one about to go down now, but all of the roaches getting cleaned up very quickly by this Colossus. And with that, Nerchio leaves the game, and Fraer has leveled this up 1-1. So remember, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy the cast, make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment and subscribe, then flick over to my channel, and we'll get Game 3 going as soon as you're there. See you in a sec.